Yet again, we have Republicans pushing various aspects of Agenda 2030. We recently told you about Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrill, who has pushed for age verification on several fronts. Age verification is, of course, a way to lock adults into Bill Gates, UN, and the WEF's policies of digital ID for every single adult online under the guise of protecting children. Well, now Ohio State Representative Roy Kloppenstein is pushing yet another dystopian agenda, allowing utility companies to control and adjust customer thermostats remotely during periods of high demand. Take a listen.
The Ohio State House introduced a bill this week that would allow utility companies to automatically adjust your thermostat at your house. House Bill 427 would create a voluntary demand response program. Customers would be allowed to sign up to let their utility company temporarily adjust energy use, including raising thermostat settings or cycling water heaters during periods of high demand. The bill's sponsor, Representative Roy Kloppenstein, said it's meant to help homeowners and small businesses save money while reducing the load on the power grid. An analysis from the Ohio Environmental Council estimates the program would generate between $34 and $100 million in savings for the utility system, depending on how many customers sign up for it.
So let me explain what this is really about. All of these programs, be it smart meters, smart appliances, giving private companies control over your energy or utilities, are all about the same thing: control. And why? Well, that's multifaceted, and we'll get into that. But first, how this usually works is that residents are given an option for, say, voluntary smart meters. It's going to save you on costs because we don't have to send someone out to read your meter. It'll be more accurate and you'll save X amount of dollars. And then before you know it, smart meters are all that are on offer from the electricity companies. You can't opt out. There's no other choice. Then, before you know it, they're cutting off your air conditioning in the middle of a blistering hot summer, like they did last year in Australia. This was from the ABC, which in Australia is essentially state-run media, and it says Energex remotely cuts power to 170,000 air conditioners 6 times in a month. This was in the middle of summer, and if you know Queensland, very hot place. Queensland's state-owned power grid remotely turned down almost 170,000 air conditioners 6 times in the past 2 months as part of a scheme to protect the electricity network. Some installers said they were wary of the Peak Smart scheme, which was introduced by the Newman government in 2012. So see, it happened 12 years later because the guidelines regarding air control were not clear. That 12 years is very, very important to note. That is how long it's taken between the time that something like this was introduced or put into law and the time that they eventually used it to cut someone's power, or 170,000 homes and businesses' power. So while the effects of these laws and legislation may not be immediately clear, they're eventually weaponized against the people. It goes on, Energex and Ergon access air conditioners through Peak Smart meters, which are controlled via power lines, usually in return for access to a cash rebate of up to $400. So a similar sell. It's going to save you money, or you're going to get a rebate. And then before you know it, they're cutting off your power remotely. And they say that the goal of the meters is to reduce the pressure and so on and so forth. But and they said that signing up to the government scheme also allows Energex or Ergon staff to visit properties occasionally, and people are given 5 days notice that people are going to come to their property, and users are not told when their unit is affected, but installers and repairers are given notice in case customers report what they think is a malfunction. Renters or new property owners may not realize their units are fitted with the device. We made a point of the effects of that law being felt 12 years later because, as we said, while initially people may have found it to be beneficial, getting a $400 rebate for a voluntary program, eventually it was used to control their access to energy. This is all while paying for a full energy service, mind you, completely unaware that the provider would be able to, at the flick of a switch, send them into serfdom. Now, maybe Roy Kloppenstein's intention isn't to push Agenda 2030, a dystopian future where essentials like power are limited for the peasants or limited to those with an acceptable social credit score. But we are a lot closer today to that reality than we were 12 years ago when a similar thing was introduced in Australia that eventually did lead to people having essential resources limited or cut off against their will. Not to mention, and here's the big part, the data centers are going to need a heck of a lot of energy and resources. And here's an article about just that from High Country News just last month. The West's data centers suck water and power. From simple searches to ChatGPT, the big digital build-up threatens the grid and water supplies. It says this May, Stack's Capital Partners applied for a permit to install turbines fueled by methane from oil wells on Alaska's North Slope. The temporary facilities would serve as a proof of concept for a much larger gas-fired power plant, with an output equal to that of the state's largest coal-fired plant, all of whose electricity would go to a planned Bitcoin mining data center located nearby. The Alaska-based company told Northern Journal it hopes to create the playbook for sustainable, at-scale Bitcoin mining in Alaska. But sustainable Bitcoin mining is an oxymoron, given the enormous amounts of power and water data centers consume. The massive server banks that run nearly every aspect of our digital world churn away in warehouse-like buildings in Phoenix, Las Vegas, rural Washington, and Wyoming, each gobbling as much electricity as a small city to process AI queries, cryptocurrency extraction, and other aspects of our increasingly cloud-based society. The harder they work, the hotter they get, and the more power and water they need to cool off. So no, a legislation that aims to give utility companies the ability to control your energy use in light of this sweeping AI agenda in a state that just so happens to be building a lot of data centers is not a good idea. We've already seen residents in Texas who are already under water restrictions having data centers planned in their areas to, I guess, suck the rest of what is keeping them afloat completely dry. It just so happens that Ohio has emerged as a leading US state for data centers, particularly in central Ohio, due to factors like favorable tax incentives, available power for now, and a strategic Midwest location, says Google. Major companies like Amazon, Google, and Meta have established or announced plans for large facilities in areas such as New Albany and Licking County, though Microsoft recently scaled back its project. Maybe until Kloppenstein's bill is passed? There are some key aspects to the globalist goal of achieving the fourth industrial revolution. Apart from the AI dystopian surveillance state where everyone has to link their ID to their online activities, the plan is also to ensure there are less and less resources for the people, making them more and more dependent on the state. If the past few years has taught us anything, we cannot allow ourselves to trade convenience or even temporary relief for the possibility of slavery. Ohio, you cannot let this bill pass. There are things that you can do to keep yourself fit, healthy, and protected in this world where it seems like attacks on our health come from all sides. Take charge of your health with the Energetic Health Institute, giving you the tools to lead a healthier, more balanced life, brought to you by Dr. Henry Ely and doctors just like him. True healers and physicians who are making people well successfully outside of Big Pharma. Visit myehialoha.org/#VFox and join their live conferences, Virtual Solutions Summit, engaging Q&A sessions with their first-class, heart-centered professionals, and access all past event replays anytime, anywhere. You can also join the Healing for the Ages community, led by Drs. Brian Ardis, Ed Group, Henry Ely, and Jana Schmidt, and become part of a movement dedicated to building a healthier future where health and healing comes first. All of these invaluable resources are a whopping 30% off when you use code VFOX. So that link again is myehialoha.org/#VFox with promo code VFOX for 30% off.